Hello and thank you for watching this training on Avaya Call Reporting Sales Engineering. My name is John Florence, and throughout this course we're going to review Avaya Call Reporting and the high-level architectural design for both on-premise and powered by and all of the different modules within ACR. We'll also go over some quick facts and the integration between Avaya Call Reporting and the IP Office. We'll do a deep dive and break down each of the different modules, the features found within those modules, how it's designed on-prem and both powered by, some FAQs, and the server requirements for each of those different modules, and as they scale as the IP Office customer scales. We will review the ACR decision tree, which can help you identify opportunities, the key questions to ask customers, to help you determine which modules fit their needs. And then we'll end with some ACCS differences. How does ACR Contact Center compare to Avaya or ACCS? So let's go ahead and get started. If you've never seen Avaya Call Reporting, it is very indicative of its name. It is a call reporting solution. Now at the base, you have that call reporting, and this was designed for the Avaya IP Office. So for the first time ever, you have a true call reporting, call accounting solution for the IP Office. You don't have to buy agent licenses or anything like that to get reporting. You can just buy that base license and you have reporting for the IP Office, and it reports on a little bit of everything. Now this particular design is for on-premise. Powered by is slightly different, and we'll go over that here in a second. But the nice thing about Avaya Call Reporting is you got that base license, so something you've never had before, that true call accounting, call reporting. But then you can add on different modules to fit the customer's needs, so they can scale from all the way from a call reporting solution to a contact center solution. The first module we'll talk about as an add-on is custom reports. This really empowers customers to create their own reports, or maybe they don't like the standard reports or the standard report definitions. They can change the filter criteria to determine what they feel is an abandoned call, what they want to see on the reports, and they can do this very easily, and we'll go over that deep dive when we get to custom reports. You can also do call recording within Avaya Call Reporting. Now the nice thing is there's multiple ways you can record calls. You can record calls through Voicemail Pro, Zima Vertex, and a new way coming in June 2019, active recording. And we will go over each of those different ways to record calls. But the nice thing is, as customers record, they're going to be in the same interface. That's what customers really love, is they can get their reporting and the recording from the same interface. So regardless which method you use, they'll all show up in the cradle to grave interface, which we'll go over here today. You also have 3 levels of contact center. You have the real-time agent licenses, the desktop agent, and the contact center voice agent, which is your true skills-based routing. Okay, so you can scale and go just for real-time agents, just one agent, or up to hundreds of agents on the real-time agent licenses, which is going to report on UC users. It's going to, or when I say report in real time on UC users, it can provide wallboards on those, and they can use this for hunt group users. This takes the IP Office and makes it a very powerful call center, and oftentimes that's what the customer's needing. I was talking with one opportunity, just to kind of give you an example. They said, oh, we have 10 contact center agents. I said, okay, tell me what your needs are. Well, we have 3 skill groups. They call them skill groups. And we need queuing. We need to tell them their position in queue, their estimated wait time. And I said, well, how do you route the calls to the agents? And they said, oh, we just most idle. I'm like, regardless of the agent's skill level? They're like, yep, whoever's been idle in those groups. I'm like, that's IP Office Hunt Group's most idle. What they were looking for was that real-time agent license. Think of this as an enhancement to what you used to get with CCC or CCR. Then that desktop agent is kind of a middle ground. This allows an application for the agents, but you can just be an IP Office Hunt Group or UC user and still be a desktop agent. You don't have to have contact center. It kind of goes in that bottom-up direction. So desktop requires real-time. Contact center requires desktop and agents. And we'll go over each of the different modules here, and you can see the differences in the value proposition found within each of them. But the nice thing is when you need all 3 of them, you have a bundle license. This is tremendous value. This gives all 3 of those licenses as their named licenses at a very affordable price, and it includes queue callback, which we'll go over as well. On top of that contact center license, you can add multimedia, which is web chat. Okay, this is web chats for those agents, so they can be voice agents skills-based routing, as well as web chat. Now, powered by, it's a little bit different. It is a per-seat license. There's not modules. You just have these per-seat licenses. So you're licensing them with Basic, Basic Plus, Real-Time, and Call Center. And you can see what that includes under each license. And again, it's a per-seat. Okay, so if you want reporting, which I think is really necessary for powered by, if you're competing against other cloud PBX types, you're going to want that basic, because otherwise you have no standard reporting. This is going to give that reporting, but it's going to be so much more enhanced than the other PBXs out there. It's not going to be just 8 or 12 reports. It's going to include 50 standard reports, custom reports, and cradle to grave. So think of it as the reporting solution, basic. Basic Plus gives all the reporting features plus recording features. So this is a great license if customers want to and really take advantage of that IP Office Select and the Unlimited Voicemail Pro. This gives them that interface, but what customers love is the reports and the recording are in the same interface. That real-time also really empowers the customers to have a very powerful call center. This is going to compete against the other cloud PBXs very well at a great price. It's going to give real-time agent seats, agent desktop, recording, reporting. And with the recording, I should emphasize, there's no time limit. You're limited on the hard drive, but I know some PBXs out there only allow you to save recordings for 3 months, and you can't change that. Well, you can do that in IP Office. It's just dependent on the hard drive, and you add in the Basic Plus or the real-time. They have those recording features. Real-time, of course, would give them that real-time capabilities, wall boards, agent software. If they need full-blown contact center, skills-based routing, queue callback, web chat, real-time, desktop, recording, and reporting, that's the contact center or call center license on the far right. And you can mix and match. Now, we'll go over the design aspect when we go over each of the modules. How do you design this in A1S? Okay, but before we do that, let's go over a few key facts. First, this is supported on release 10.1 or higher. Okay, so IP Office via call reporting was introduced with release 11, but it actually can go back to release 10.1. This is supported on all IP Office environments, server edition, small community network, standalone IP Office. You can actually have multiple IP offices just network together via H323, not in SCN mode. That's okay. Avaya call reporting will still report on all those users like it's a single system. Now, it's not a tenanting solution. You don't want to put multiple customers on the same ACR instance. You want to put this just per customer, but as many IP offices as they have, they can all log to that same instance. As I mentioned, this is available for on-premise powered by. In that powered by, it's available for both Tier 1 and Tier 2, so you can get this through your distributor, or if you're a powered by partner, you can resell this directly to your customers. This is also going to be available in Avaya Cloud, also known as MSA. That is coming here any day now. So if you're watching this after the month of May, this should be available in MSA or Avaya Cloud. One nice thing about Avaya call reporting, no CTI link licenses are required. Okay, so if you have that server edition, or if you have a 10 IP office environment in a small community network, you don't need 10 CTI link licenses. You don't need 3. You don't need 5. No CTI link licenses. So that is tremendous cost savings. One thing I want you to remember as you go through this training, this is not just a call accounting solution. It can do call accounting, but it can do so much more. The other thing I want you to remember is it's not just a call center solution. It was designed for that reporting, and then it scales up from there. So it can grow as your customers grow. It can fit their needs as the customers change from customer to customer, which they typically do. Some other key facts. The standard reports, real-time wallboard templates are supported and available in 14 different languages. The support model is co-delivery for both on-premise and powered by. This counts towards your Avaya Edge benefits, so you purchase at your GEM status and it counts towards achieving your GEM status. So this is a true Avaya product, Avaya branded through Avaya. Okay, so let's start with a very high-level architectural design. Okay, very simple network topology here. I have a standalone IP office, standalone voicemail pro. You're going to install Avaya call reporting on its own server. Yes, it can be virtualized. You can do VMware or Hyper-V. You can do Windows or Linux, but it's going to be on its own PC or server. And then it's going to communicate with the IP office across the customer LAN via the DevLink 3 connection, which is a secure TCP connection using port 50797. So it's username and password protected, which you're going to set up within the IP office. As you deploy Server Edition or small community network, same idea. It's going to just communicate with all of those different IP offices. It's going to get data from all of them, but then it's going to condense it, and it's going to make it look like a single system in the reports. It's going to give that true cradle-to-grave reporting. But the connection method is the same. DevLink 3 through the secure TCP port. Okay? Now, we just talked about that, but again, IP office integration, again, 10.1 or higher. No CTI link licenses are required, and it connects via the DevLink 3 API, which is provisioned and configured within System Manager and the security settings. So you have to have that security access in order to configure that DevLink 3 connection. But from there, you're good to go, and it will begin logging data. Now let's dive into each of the different modules. What is the value proposition? Why would you propose? Why do your customers want standard reports, which is the base license, and at a minimum, every license is going to have that in the Powered by model. So everyone's going to get this. Why? Why does that matter? Why are the customers going to want it? Well, one, it has over 50 canned or standard reports, which reports on a little bit of everything out of the IP office. It then has what I like to refer to as the master report, known as cradle-to-grave reporting. So it's going to track every single call as it happened throughout your IP office and each event in a chronological order. And then the customers can drill down and see that level of detail. Has a lot of other features that you'd expect. One of them being, can I schedule reports? Absolutely. You can schedule as many reports as you need. With the report scheduler, you can have them emailed, saved to the directory, or printed. Now you're going to have to enter the customer's mail server settings into Avaya call reporting. We covered that during the installation class, so that's how it gets the emails out, is it uses the customer's mail server, which there's a setting where you can upload that, very similar like you do for voicemail to email. You're going to do the same thing with any Avaya call reporting. Emergency call notifications. If you want those notifications via email, SMS, you have to have that SMTP server set up. Okay, but otherwise, that's going to do exactly what it says. It's going to notify the customer in real time if anyone within their organization calls 911 or 999 or 000. All different emergency numbers are supported, and I'll show you how you can add those. It's actually very simple. There is no extension limit. So Avaya call reporting can grow and scale as large as the IP office can grow. So you can report on just one user up to 3,000 users. And there's no supervisor licenses. When we did that quick architectural review for both Powered by and on-prem, you'll notice I didn't talk about anything about supervisor licenses because there aren't any. You can create as many logins to Avaya call reporting as you need, and then you can restrict their access based off of the different modules, features, users. So from a reporting perspective, you want 5 supervisors, you can have 5 supervisors, and you can allow them to run reports just on their users and groups. And then there's a few additional alerts and triggers, which we'll talk about. Now, I mentioned standard reports. There's over 50 canned reports. Okay? This was designed for the Avaya IP office. It's going to report on a little bit of everything. You want to run reports on your account codes in IP office? You have account code reports. You want to run reports on your extensions, which are agents in Avaya call reporting? This is all different types of extensions. Analog phones, digital phones, SIP phones, IP phones, soft phones such as Equinox or Communicator. You have third-party SIP phones. It's okay. It's going to report on all of them. You can also do that call costing, that true call accounting. You want to do bill back purposes, you can do that. A lot of people don't realize Avaya call reporting can do that, and so they're still selling another call accounting solution. You do not need to. You can accomplish that through Avaya call reporting. You can run reports on call direction, inbound, outbound, and internal. You can run reports on caller ID, name, and number. All of the hunt groups, as well as ACR skill groups, which we'll talk about within the contact center. You'll notice it does not report on the ACCS skill groups. You can have Avaya call reporting running side by side as ACCS, but ACCS has its own reporting for its agents and skill groups. ACR is going to report on the rest of the office. Think of it as like your UC reporting. You can also run reports on your local numbers. These are like your DIDs or your toll-free numbers. System reports such as, voicemail counts, abandoned calls, emergency calls like 911. You can also do time interval reports, which is great for forecasting or determining your peak call volumes. And then lastly, trunk reports. You can run reports on your different trunks, PRI, SIP trunks, and T1. You cannot run trunk reports on analog or BRI lines. We report on those calls, but it doesn't actually tell us the trunk data on an analog or BRI. So we get the call data, but we don't know what trunk it is, so the trunk is just left blank. So therefore, you cannot run trunk reports. But you'll still see all of those calls. Okay? Now, rather than me just telling you about it, going through this presentation, let me show you the report values. Let me show you how easy it is, because that's one of its best values or assets, is how intuitive and user-friendly the software is. Now, one thing you'll notice here, this is the Avaya call reporting interface. I have my reports. I have my recordings, my different real-time or contact center options, all within the same interface. Customers don't have to manage multiple locations. They don't have to go to one for the reports, one for their recordings. We just talked about standard reports. So if I come in here, click Run Reports, it's going to show me all of the standard reports. Now, I'm logged in as an administrator, which gives me access to everything. But again, you can restrict their access. So maybe when I log in, I can only see 5 reports. And then I can only run those reports on my users and groups. You can set that up, and we will review the different account types or user account types. So here are all those different filters that I just talked about. Account codes, agent, call costing, call direction, group, trunk reports, time interval reports. But as you click on these filters, it's going to show you the different reports. And again, you can run reports on all different types of agents. Now, one thing I want to point out is when you're running a report, you just select your date and time. I could run it for today. I could run it for last month. I can run this for weeks, months, years. As long as Avaya call reporting's been collecting data, it can run on those dates collected. I'm going to go ahead and just select a week here. Now, by default, it runs for all 24 hours out of the day, but I can break this down by shifts, or I could say, I only want to run this report on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. I'll just do all 24 hours and all 5 days that I selected. Here is what I want to point out is the users. This is an active user list out of the IP office. There are other call accounting solutions where you have to manually enter the users into that call accounting system. You do not have to do that within Avaya call reporting. You add a user to IP office, they'll be added to Avaya call reporting. And then you just put a checkbox next to them. You'll see their name and their extension number. If users leave, which is a common thing within all businesses, there's always turnover. That's where this past users comes in. You can still run reports on those past users. And if users share extensions, that's okay. Here we'll see those users. It will validate based off the name and the extension. So if names change, it will keep accurate records even if you share extensions later on down the road. Okay? You can also create roles, which are groupings of user, which makes it easier for customers to select their department or their users, and the customer can manage these roles. I'm going to go ahead and select the customer service group, which has about 50 agents in there. So I don't have to manually select those. I can just select my agents and run report. While this report runs, you can run them in 4 different formats: PDF, Excel spreadsheet, and HTML. And here I have my agent call summary, again showing me inbound calls, outbound calls, internal, total, answered, missed. Up here in my summary, I can see I only missed 3 calls out of 701. It's pretty good. Who missed those calls? Oh, Brian, he had 16 inbound calls, answered 15, missed 1. Makes sense. Down here, we can scroll through and see all of our other agents and calls that were missed. Okay? There are a lot of different types of reports. No 2 reports are the same. Okay, so if I want to focus just on inbound calls, I could maybe just do this inbound call summary, and you'll notice it shows me a little bit different information. I get percentages now. I get my ring time, total ring times. Maybe I want more agent event information. Here I can see that, and now I can see hold durations and park. Again, no 2 reports are the same. Popular reports are group reports. They want to know which queues are the busiest. When are those queues the busiest? Well, let's go ahead and take a look here at a simple queue summary by group. Come in here, select my date and time range. Let's go ahead and pick a different week here, and then select my groups. This again pulls an active list from all IP offices. I had a customer one time ask, what if I have a small community network, multiple IP offices, and hunt groups configured at all of them? You'll see them all right here. If you want to restrict it by each location by login, you can do that, but it's going to pull all of those groups, and it's going to report on your users as they hot desk. So if I'm at one site today and then next week or tomorrow, I'm at a different site, I log in there, Avaya call reporting is going to track it. There are other call reporting solutions that don't do that. So you can do that within Avaya call reporting. You can also add charts. You can do line charts, pie charts, bar charts. You can make them bigger. You can put them side by side. The customer gets to pick and choose which charts and how they want that laid out. And here again, I could switch the format from PDF to Excel spreadsheet if I wanted to, or HTML. Let's just stick with PDF, run report. And here is my queue summary by group. Summary details up at the top, and then I have my queued calls. Clearly I can see my customer service group is the busiest, taking 3 times more than the next group, which is sales. If I wanted to drill down into these groups, I could do that. I could go run a detailed report on my queued calls, showing each call line by line, or I could show my queue call volume. I had 300 plus calls coming into queue. When did those calls come into the queue? What hours out of the day? Am I staffed properly? Well, that's what I love about these time interval reports, which is also showing up as a group report because it's both. So here we could select this by hours out of the day, days of the week, months of the year. What time format do you want to see? This time, let's go ahead and run this on customer service and then run report. And here, again, I get my summary up at the top. You can see I lost 11 calls in the queue, 7 outside of the queue. Max calls in queue was 4. When I drill down and see the hours out of the day, I'm a little surprised because actually I would have thought this would have been 8 to 5, but actually between the hours of 7 and 8, it's a little bit busier than 8 to 9. And sure enough, that's when I had most calls in queue. Well, maybe, I have most people come in at 8 and only a couple agents at 7. Maybe I need to staff that up because that's almost as busy as the rest of the day. It actually really tapers off between 4 and 5, so maybe my peak time is 7 to 4. Okay? Lots of different details. One of my favorite reports is this abandoned calls. And the reason why it's one of my favorite reports, I've done thousands of demonstrations. And I always ask the customers what information matters to them. And you know what is a common thing among most of them? They want to know about their abandoned calls. It makes sense. This is a key question to ask customers if you want to validate. Is there an opportunity for Avaya call reporting? Ask them, do you want to report on your abandoned calls? Majority of the time, if not all the time, the customer's going to be like, yeah, I want to know about my abandoned calls. Well, this report can show them that, and it will show them each call line by line. So one, we can see, is it the same customer calling in? Or how do I get the details so I can call the customer back? This abandoned calls report is going to give that to you. Here I can see the customer's name. I can see their phone number. I can see what line they're calling in on, 8644. Oh, that's my main line. That's not very good. Where are they getting lost? In the main queue, the sales queue. Wow, a lot of calls lost in customer service and sales, which is what I would expect after running my summary report. Those are my 2 busiest queues. Where are they getting lost? A lot of calls getting lost in the queue, but also some calls getting lost on park, which may look a little odd, and I'll explain that. Okay, but here is a very detailed report. But one of the things that's common within reports is it leads to questions, such as, why is this showing a call lost in park? I was doing a demonstration for a customer, fairly decent sized customer, about 400 phones, and had about 50 call center agents, and they have a reporting solution today, and partner was proposing IP Office. And I asked them when doing the demonstration, what do you think of the reports? Do you think these reports will fit your needs? Obviously, there's a lot of different reports. I want to make sure I'm showing the reports that they need. And they go, yeah, these look very similar to like the reports we get out of our system today. Not a terrible surprise. A lot of reporting packages are out there. There's some slight differences, such as not reporting on all users as they hot desk, not reporting on the phone numbers, a few different things like that. But there's a lot of different reports out there. And I asked them the question, okay, how much time do you ever have questions about the reports? Do you ever run your reports and go, is this data right? Is this ever, how did it come up with this data? And they said, John, we spend time every week trying to figure out what the reports are trying to tell us, trying to make sense versus one report and the other report. And they actually had a reporting solution and a call recording solution, and they would try to compare the two to get that accurate information. And they just spent so much time doing that. And so that's when I showed them cradle to grave. This is kind of the key difference maker. What makes Avaya call reporting unique? It is that cradle to grave program. Here they can come in here, and I like to think of this as a master report because this is going to show the details of every single call as it happened in a chronological order. So I'm going to zoom in here, and you can drill down and see the details. Every single event, and this is for inbound calls, outbound calls, internal calls, and it will show each event regardless if it went to one site. Mario might be at site A and Cynthia might be at site B. They might not even be on the same IP office, but if we're logging data and the same call goes to them, it'll show as just the one call, which it should. Okay, and this is a perfect call. One call I like to really emphasize the need for Avaya call reporting. This call came in here, very standard call, went to the main auto attendant. They selected the marketing group and it rang for 6 seconds, and Mario Kelly, extension 1182, picked up the call, talked for 2 minutes, 5 seconds. He then put it on Park. Then Cynthia picked up, talked for 2 minutes and 23 seconds, and she transferred it over to the marketing group. Now, if I were the marketing supervisor or the manager, I might pause right there because I know for a fact Cynthia is part of that marketing group. Why would she transfer a call back to the queue or group that she's a part of? Maybe I want to talk to her and be like, hey, what's going on? Did they ask a question you didn't know the answer to? Did they ask to speak to Mario again? Or was it just you didn't know what to do with the call, so you sent it back to the marketing group? This is where Cradle to Grave can start answering these questions. And you can search for anything. So if you're looking for a particular customer, I need to look up the call, 555-5389. Oh, here it is. Oh, this caller said they were in queue for 30 minutes. Oh, no, looks like they were just in queue for about 2 minutes and 28 seconds. Probably felt like a long time though. So you can validate information. You can sort by call duration. You can also make them sort by caller ID or the phone number or the receiving party. It'll show when it rings multiple agents, when they're missing those calls. Oh yeah, this call came into the auto billing department, auto attendant. They got to the marketing group, rang Jorge for 6 seconds. He didn't answer. Rang Brian for 6 seconds. He didn't answer. Veronica for 6 seconds. He didn't answer. Edward did answer. After 3 seconds, it talked for a little bit, put on Park, and then Veronica picked up the call. And then you'll see receiving drop, or you might see calling drop like you see here. Avaya call reporting will tell you which side of the call hung up first. So perhaps this call here, the customer called up and said, hey, your agent Melanie hung up on me. Well, in today's age with cell phones, how do you really figure that out? Well, you can log in right here and see, oh yeah, talking duration, Melanie and the customer here, and then the calling party hung up. No, it wasn't Melanie, the calling party. Are you on a cell phone? I am. Yeah, it looks like it dropped. I've had partners use this as a troubleshooting technique. They got reports of calls being hung up on in their voicemail in their auto attendants, but they didn't know where it was. They tried to find it. They couldn't find it. They added Avaya call reporting, came in here, and they got the exact auto attendant or the voicemail box. That helped narrow the search. And sure enough, they found, we have a transfer action that goes to a phone number that doesn't actually exist in IP office. Whoops, looks like we fat fingered the destination. So this can help troubleshoot the phone system as well. Okay, let me show you one last reason why I love Cradle to Grave. I'm going to go pick on a call here. I'm going to pick on a different one here, just because if you've seen my other trainings, might be a little monotonous here, but I want to show auto attendant, main AA, 4-minute call. They were in the auto attendant for 32 seconds. It rang the sales group. No one became available, so it queued up for 2 minutes and 13 seconds, and then Timothy picked up the call, and then he put it on Park for 1 minute and 9 seconds. But then the calling party, the customer hung up. Well, why did this customer hung up? Well, Timothy maybe saw this call sitting in queue, did a hunt groups pick up or enabled himself, got that call right away. But look at the talking duration, 0 seconds. 0 seconds. How much do you think you could say to someone within less than a second? If it was a second, it would show 1. This means it was less than a second. He picked up his handset and hit the Park button instantly. So the customer was sitting here queuing. They heard a click, and then they heard hold music again, and perhaps it's different music. They're sitting there going, I don't know what happened here. And so they hung up the call. This actually happened again with a different agent. If I scroll up here, I know for a fact Matthew Sanders has a bad habit of this. He did the same thing, talking 1 second. Park. That could help explain all of those reports we saw right here where Matthew Sanders is putting one park. Looks like he does this a lot. Okay, that's why I love Cradle to Grave. And of course, once they have the reports, they can filter, run those in Cradle to Grave. They can schedule their standard reports. So if abandoned calls is something they want, they can schedule those to run automatically. We talked about the alerts and triggers, emergency call notification. That's under alerts and triggers, under real time, because it is a real-time trigger. Here you have your emergency calls. You have email and desktop, but the email can also do SMS text. How this works is it use your carrier, your cell phone carrier. Every cell phone carrier, at least in the States, has this feature functionality where you can send an email to their gateway and it will convert it to a text. So it's something similar to like the phone number at whatever the carrier is. If you're not sure, just do a quick Google search and put in your carrier, Sprint, email to text, Verizon, email to text, and it will tell you what you need to put in the email format. So in essence, ACR will send that as an email to the carrier's gateway. The carrier converts it to a text message. But it does that in real time. Same with email if you want it to go to your inbox. Desktop notifications, they need to be have installed and logged into the desktop client, which we will go over as well. You can also get notifications for logging issues. If you're in that small community network, one of the sites goes down, you can get a notification. Or disk space, if the hard drive starts filling up, you can get that notification. But let me show you how you can update the reports to different languages or update the system to alert you for your emergency number. Under Admin, System Settings, Basic Settings, right here is the emergency numbers. You can come in here and add all of the different countries. So if you're, let's say, out of Belgium, and then you also have a site in Austria, and we'll go ahead and do Ghana. We'll do one more in Mexico. Hit OK. Oh, just added all the emergency numbers for that region. And we are putting a 9 in front of it just in case they did 9 or they did the number. Okay, sometimes if it's a guest at the office, they may not realize to do 911. They might just dial 911 or 000. So it puts both options in there. If you're not using a 9 to dial out, you may need to update that to an 8 or a 7, whatever you're using to dial out. Okay, so that's just something to be aware of. But again, you can select the numbers. If you don't want to select it using that find option, you can manually add those in here, just like that. Okay, you don't have to use this find option. You can manually put the numbers in there. You can also add a location, which will be sent across with the text or the email or the pop screen message. Now this is a manual entry for each user. Main site floor 2. Okay, or maybe it's something like a school, room 202. Room 204. Again, this does not push it to the actual emergency dispatch. This is for an internal notification only, but you can upload those there, hit OK, and you're done. Up at the top, you have your admin download translations. Here are all the different languages that are available with those standard reports. So if I want to update and have my reports in Chinese or Hungarian or Italian, whatever it is you're looking for. Important thing to note though, if you do this, you'll have both English and whatever language you select. So if you don't want the English reports, before you do that, right click on them and select delete reports. Okay, we've spent a lot of time going over the standard reports. Let's now review how is this designed. Okay, hopefully you saw the value proposition here. Here you have a VIA call reporting in the A1S design tool for on-premise. Important thing to note is the design is under system options, call reporting. It's not under the physical location, it's under system options, and this only shows up for net new designs. If you go do an add-on to an existing site, you will not see that. You need to do a piece parts design, which you can see some of those part numbers there. The first and only question you will see when you first log in is call reporting required for this design? Yes or no. If you hit no to that, it won't ever show the other questions because, again, that base license is required for all of the other modules. If you hit yes, then it'll ask the next question. Enter the total number of call reporting users with standard reports. How many people do you want to report on? There's 300 phones, so enter 300. Or there's 700 phones, enter 7. There's 50, enter 50. You don't need to worry about remembering these licenses. What part numbers go to which license? You just put that number over there, and it will populate the correct design. Powered by, it's a little easier. Here it is under the A1S design tool, powered by Avaya call reporting. Is it required? Yes or no? Yes. All you're going to enter is the total number of basic users. Again, this is that reporting user. How many people do you want to report on? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. You can have as many extensions as you want. You can report on who you want to report on. You don't have to license everybody, but I highly recommend that you do because, again, I have found this is a standard feature that most customers expect when they purchase a cloud phone system. Okay, now that decision tree, what are some key questions that you could ask to determine is Avaya call reporting required? Again, I would personally quote this and design this for all customers because you can always take it out. You can take it out of the design, but once they see it and they see the value that it's going to provide, the level of detail, they're going to want it. Okay, but here's some key questions if you want to ask these. Do you want to report on abandoned calls? Yes or no. If they say yes to that, you're going to want to design or quote Avaya call reporting. If they say no, okay. Do you want to report on your trunk usage? Do you want to know when you max out your PRIs or your SIP trunks or your T1s? Do you want to report on your customers? How many times they called you or you called them? Do you require accounting, that true call accounting, bill back purposes to departments or agents? Do you want to report on your marketing numbers, your toll-free numbers? Do you want to know about your peak call volume? Do you want to know when someone calls 911 or 999, whatever the emergency number is, in real time and both historical? And lastly, do you want to report on your agents, which are just your extensions, and hunt groups? If they said yes to any of those, you're going to want to add call reporting. And we haven't talked about custom reports yet, but key question, do you want to add custom reports? Doesn't matter how large they are, but do you want to add, customize, and be able to build your own reports? If they say yes, add custom reports, which we'll go over here in a second. Next, sometimes people ask, can I have access to the database? Is there an API for the database? Yes, there is. Customers can have access to the database. There is an API for this, but here's the key thing they need to remember. This is an API. It's a programming interface. If they don't understand databases, then having that API is not going to help. Now, they could obviously outsource that or go to another company to help them with that database access. But oftentimes when I get asked this question, is there database access? I'm asking, why do you want database access? Oh, because I'm going to write my own reports. I'm going to create my own, which leads me and is a good transition into custom reports. Okay, that's why it was created, so you don't have to go outsource. You don't have to have someone that knows how to do databases. You don't have to have someone that knows crystal reports. With custom reports, it's a site license, so it doesn't matter however many customers want access to it. They can have access to it. You can create as many reports as you want, and there's a wizard that's going to walk them through, a nice GUI or user interface. It's going to walk them through how to build those reports. Really gives unlimited possibilities. They can customize the look and feel of the report. So if they want to update it with their logo, their color scheme, they can do that. They can also get historical threshold notifications. So maybe, okay, I really want to know about abandoned calls, but not if it's only 10 in a week. Only notify me if I had 50 abandoned calls last week. Or here's another use case. I don't want to run reports on our do not call list. We have a do not call list, customers that have asked not to get called. Is there any way the system could notify me if we called someone? They don't need it in real time, so you can have it just check each night. Hey, did we call someone from our do not call list last night? And then again, it can send an email, text message, or a pop screen if they are there. Okay, some common scenarios. What to watch for? What are some key things to look for when you know customers want custom reports? They may ask something when you're proposing the IP office. I need the reports I have now. Can you give those to me? If they say anything like that, propose custom reports, because I have found when they ask that, what they are referring to is the exact reports, meaning the nomenclature is the same. The headers are the same. Definitions are the same. They want literally everything the same, and we can get that or get very, very, very close, if not exact, with custom reports. That's what it was designed for, so we can give them those needs. Or if they say, I spend a lot of time in Excel Okay, and they may ask, can you run reports in Excel spreadsheet out of a VIA call reporting? Yes, you can. But I always like to ask why. And it's usually the same case. Oh, I take this report and I put them together. Or I have this custom formula that I created. It's kind of our own SLA. No one has it. Well, you can build that in ACR's custom reports, and then you don't have to build it again, and you don't have to spend any more time in Excel. Multiple managers and supervisors, a lot of people using the reports. Heavy report organizations, often found in operational organizations. Those are types of customers that want custom reports. Again, not every customer needs it. The standard reports, there's a lot of them. I touched on just a few, and I hope you saw the value of those. But custom reports is there when they need it. Let me show you how easy it is. Okay, so for instance, let's just go back to that abandoned calls report. Maybe they're like, okay, I saw what abandoned calls does. I saw why it's counting it. Calls lost in park, like we saw right here. Yeah, I don't count it. And I don't want to see calls lost in the auto attendant. I don't want to see those. I just really want to focus on calls lost in my queue. And you know what? They need to be in my queue for 2 minutes. And I actually only care if they came in on the main line. Added a new criteria here. Okay. You have custom reports. You can right click, hit edit report. I like to edit a copy. That way I always have the original to fall back on or to compare. And I'm into the report. Here, I have this filter tool, greater than or equal to, select exact values. That's what you're picking here. Anyone can do this. So here I have the default definition. So it's an inbound call. We're breaking this out by group here. And is abandoned? True. Okay, but I want the final event to only be queue. Okay, there's my queue. Well, that event duration I said needs to be greater than or equal to 2 minutes. Okay, and I wanted to add the dialed party number is my main line. So starts with contains equals. We'll just go ahead and do a contains 8644. Hit OK. Next. Here are all the default values. Do you like all these default values? I don't need the internal party anymore because I know it's the main line. So let's take that out. And let's go ahead and add in that exact queue duration. I want to see that queue duration. Let's go ahead and put that one in there. Edit. I don't need to have it say total queue. We'll just do queue duration. Let's put that above my call duration. Any other values that you want? You can see there's a lot of default values for this report. We'll go ahead and hit next. Next, summary tables. What do you want it to add up for you? We're already adding up answered calls, percentage of answered calls. Do you want anything else in here? Yeah. Let's go ahead and do distinct external parties. Maybe it's the same customer calling in over and over and over again. We'll give this a new name. Call this training SE, abandoned calls. Optional parameters. Maybe I don't want it to sort by call, but I actually want it to put, queue duration descending. Show me my longest queue time down to the bottom first. And then, I want to get rid of the Avaya logo, put in my logo. I can do that. It's custom reports. You can change everything about this report. Upload a new logo, upload a new header. Okay, what is it you want? We'll go ahead and skip that here, but you saw where you can do that. Where custom reports really matters is you now have the details that you want to see. Now I have my abandoned calls. And look at that. Look at the difference here. 47 down to 19. Because I, again, only seen calls lost in my queue. Only 2 minutes or longer. My longest one was 7 minutes. I had a few just over the 2 minutes mark. Again, I sorted these by duration. I took out my internal number. That's the beautiful thing about custom reports. Let me show you one other, again, common scenario. Customers are like, oh yeah, I take this report here, which is my call summary, and I combine it with this event summary because I want all of these values on one report. Okay, well, that's easy enough. Let's just copy a report, or we could create this from scratch. Why don't we do that? Reports takes a little longer, but create report. That's an agent report. Okay, well, that agent report showed me, my inbound call count. So let's go ahead and do inbound call count, and it also had outbound call count. But you know what? This is a perfect example. I don't really need my internal calls. I don't care about that, but I really want to see, how many calls they answered and how many calls they missed. And I saw a value in there that I really like. Average calls per hour. Here's the description, the definition of it. Yeah, I like that. Let's go ahead and put that. And I saw another one on there. Calls transferred by the agent. And then let's go ahead and add some of those other values in there. So we'll do hold durations. We'll do park durations. We'll do average. And we'll do one more ringing duration. Okay, or their speed of answer. And let's go ahead and do their average speed of answer. The last thing right here is that formula. So if they're doing those Excel spreadsheet formulas, oh, just create them in here. Add all of your different values, do your different formulas, which are the results of the value, and then you can create that formula and you can have it spit out as a duration, a number, percent, text, true, false. How do you want that populated on the report? But once we're done, we hit next. We build our summary tables here. There we go. Hit next. We'll just call this training agent report and then finish. And now I have my custom report and I can run this. I can schedule this just like it's a standard report. And based off my user access, I can determine who has access to that training report. Does everybody or only certain individuals? I can adjust that here. And then if we go back to our alerts and triggers, that's where we can see our custom daily triggers, where it's going to do kind of a database search to see if it met your criteria. So maybe again, we want to do abandoned calls. General call count of abandoned calls. If that number ever gets above 50, we'll do greater than or equal to 50. I want it to send me a desktop message or an email or text. What do I want it to say in that email or text? How many days do I want to query? Well, I'm not open Sunday or Saturday, so we'll just do the last 5 business days, and it's just a kind of a rolling total there, and I'm done. I can have as many of those custom triggers as I want. There's not a limit to that. Okay, the other beautiful thing about this, it's easy to design. In that A1S tool, it's just one question. Is call report custom reports function required? Yes or no? The nice thing is if they don't decide to add this at the first, and then 6 months down the road, a year down the road, 5 years down the road, they still have a VIA call report and they're like, I want to add custom reports now. They can do that. You can add that at any point. Powered by tremendous value. It's part of that basic user. So everything you've seen so far is all part of that basic user. Standard reports, cradle to grave, custom reports. So as you can see, this is going to be way more reporting than they get with any other cloud PBX. This is really going to put you in the driver's seat from a reporting perspective. So it's a +1 for reporting. Now, they're going to care about other PBX features, and that's where the IP Office and the rest of it's going to shine as well. But let's talk about call recording. Now, as I mentioned, there are multiple ways to record calls. Voicemail Pro, VRTX, and active recording. Voicemail Pro, everyone knows it. It's tried and true. It's been around for a long time. Vertex, this is a line side tap, not available from Avaya. You have to purchase that Vertex hardware from Zima Software directly. Active recording, this is a new way to record calls coming in June 2019. So if you're watching this training before June 2019, it's not quite available yet. After June, it's now available, and you'll see how it's designed, what it uses, and how it works today. The nice thing is, regardless of which method you're using to record, and you can do a hybrid approach, you can do multiple methods within your VIA call reporting, the interface is still the same. All access through cradle to grave. They can email, download, generate an external link for those recordings. You can create a snippet of the recordings using the snippet tool and play it back at different speeds. You also have evaluations and scorecards, sometimes referred to as quality assurance software. Quality management, it's a standard feature within the recording library. Now, with that active recording and Vertex, you can do click to listen live. That we cannot do that through Voicemail Pro. You can do that with IP Office and shortcodes, but if you want to do click to listen live through ACR, they have to have active recording or Vertex, and you'll see how that works. There are some additional alerts and triggers for call recording, such as, again, that hard drive, that hard disk. You want to get notifications. That will send out a notification if ever the hard drive fills up at 95% capacity. And I'll explain what you can do, how you can take action. From a feature comparison, it's very similar. Some slight differences. Voicemail Pro. Okay, this is recording library using Voicemail Pro. Doesn't have that recording monitor. That's that click to listen live. You can't save the call from the beginning. So, oh, I should have been recording this call. It's not buffering. Vertex can do that. It's also PCI compliant with an API to automatically stop the recordings, which you see there. Now, active recording is kind of the best of both worlds. I personally believe this is going to be a game changer for the IP office because it's going to give all the features, all the benefits of Voicemail Pro and Vertex combined into one. Okay, we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. When you talk call recording, customers particularly need to know about compliance. If you're over in Europe, GDPR. Is Avaya call reporting compliant with GDPR? Yes, it is. I'll show you how you can achieve that. There's that API, which can automatically stop and pause the recording once they open up an application. Again, it's an API. It's a programming interface. It's a tool that the customer can use to be compliant. You can give agents the ability to just press a button on their PC to stop the recording as well. The calls can be stored with encryption, multiple layers of encryption for compliance purposes, MD5, PBE, and DES. You can also set retention policies. How long do you want to save those recordings? And again, if you hit that 95% capacity, you can set up different storage locations. You do not have to store the recordings on the same PC or server as Avaya call reporting. They can be stored somewhere else, or you can map them to a different network drive and have them saved on that network drive. And then you have your user-based access control. Who gets access to what? What can they do? Can they download? Can they email? Can they delete recordings? What do you want to give them permissions to? And then lastly, a restricted view. If you're in Germany, Austria, or Switzerland, you're not allowed to see the customer phone number. You're not allowed to see the users. So it groups the users together and shows just kind of a select number of users, but doesn't show their extension numbers or names. Doesn't show the caller ID information, so it can be compliant with that restricted view. Now, let's talk about the design aspect for each of these. When you do Voicemail Pro, this does require a Voicemail Pro port as well as an Avaya call reporting recording port. So you do need both. So it's going to be the most expensive out of all three solutions. Now, how does this work? Works very similar to Media Manager. And Media Manager is still an option. So if you're like, I don't really like the price option, Media Manager is a great fit. But it works the same way. It does a secure FTP. It pushes the calls from Voicemail Pro to the Avaya call reporting server again. So the software, the recordings are going to be installed on its own dedicated PC or server. This is the same server that's running your reports and your recordings. Okay, but again, why use this method? It's reliable. Everyone knows it. It's been around for a long time. It is supported for a multi-site Voicemail Pro small community network. So if you're an SCN and you have multiple Voicemail Pro servers, or you have the primary server edition or secondary server edition, you can send the recordings, regardless of who records them, to that single server. As I mentioned, this does require a Voicemail Pro port plus an ACR recording port for each concurrent call you wish to record. As of today, this is the primary method for Powered By. Why? Because it's IP Office Select, comes with really that unlimited Voicemail Pro, and you don't want to deal with line-side hardware, and active recording hasn't been available. So Voicemail Pro and Powered By is the primary method for recording. But again, you don't have to purchase those recording ports. You just purchase Basic Plus. So it has a great cost savings for call recording. Now Vertex. This is a line-side tap. So this is going to tap the PRI or the SIP trunk by the IP office. So you're going to want your Avaya call reporting server near your primary IP office. But the benefit of this, why was this created in the first place? For cost savings. It only requires an Avaya call reporting recording port. You don't need that Voicemail Pro because it's tapping the call at the trunk level. You still can pick and choose which calls get recorded. You don't have to record every call. It's going to listen for every call, but it won't record until you tell it which calls to record. You do need a tap for each physical PRI. So if you have 5 PRIs, you're going to need 5 Vertex boxes. When it comes to SIP though, we do a port mirror because we can do 10, 100, 1000 speeds, and then you don't have to deal with any physical hardware, which is much better for a PC, or a virtual PC, I should say. You could do that port mirror actually in the virtual server. This is supported in a multi-site. So if you're sitting there when I said you have to have the PC near your IP office. Well, what about a small community network? What about multiple IP offices? And this is the scenario you'd have. You'd have an Avaya call reporting server, which again is going to be at your primary site. You're going to have a Vertex box there. It connects via USB. It ships with a 7-foot USB cable. Well, in other locations, 500 miles away, you're going to have an IP office there. You're going to have a call recording server there. You don't have to buy any additional licenses, but you're going to have another server or PC that's going to connect to that Vertex, and it's going to store the recordings at that site. This was actually by design for a number of reasons. One is it keeps the recorded traffic off the WAN. It keeps the recording there locally, so it records locally and it stores locally. The only time it will play it across the WAN is if someone logs into your Avaya call reporting interface, presses a play button, and the recording's at the other site. So they still access all of their recordings from the same interface, but it does require more hardware. But again, keeps the calls off the WAN, which a lot of customers care about. This was also created for compliance purposes. It has the API to automatically stop and pause recordings based off if they open up an application. Again, you can give agents the permission to stop and pause the recording themselves if you don't want to do that API. The downside to Vertex, cannot record internal calls. Because it's a line side tap, it's only seeing inbound and outbound. Can't do external. So that's where that hybrid approach comes up. You can have Voicemail Pro record just the internal calls, and then you could use Vertex to record your external calls. However, after June, active recording is going to be the primary method. Again, I believe this is going to be a game changer. Why? It only requires an Avaya call reporting recording port. So it's got the cost benefits of Vertex. It's a true software-based solution. So it's got the benefits of Voicemail Pro. It's reliable. It's easy to deploy. Okay, from a deployment perspective, what resources does this use? It does use a VCM resource. How this is working is it's got an active SIP connection. So your Avaya call reporting server has an active SIP connection. And based off the recording rules that you establish in ACR, it will send a request to Avaya. Oh, hey, I see this person's on the call. I'm supposed to record this call. Sends a request to the IP office via SIP, port 5060. It sends that audio back. Think of it like a media fork. Okay, the exact terminology for this is SIP-rec. This can, because it's getting that feed from the IP office, can record inbound, outbound, and internal. It also has that API for compliance purposes, so you can automatically pause and stop the recording. So again, this active recording has all the benefits, none of the drawbacks. The one thing to just remember is if it's a standalone IP office, it's using VCM resources, and it's a one-to-one. So if you're recording 10 calls, it's going to use 10 VCM resources. And of course, you would need 10 ACR recording ports. Okay, that's a lot of information. So let's go over the decision tree. How would you determine which features, which recording method do I want? Well, I have a question here that's the easiest one to ask. Customer, do you need to record groups, users, or phone numbers? If they say no to that, oh, you're done. There's no recording opportunity. Great. If they say yes to that, this is an important question to ask. Do you need speech analytics or performance management? The reason why that's an important question to ask, if they say yes to that, this is not an ACR opportunity. This is now more in the realm of Avaya WFO Select, because ACR does not do speech analytics or performance management. Same question here, is screen recording required? If they say yes to that, same thing. That is not a feature of ACR. You're looking more at a WFO Select. If they say no to those questions, okay. Do you want evaluations and scorecards? Do the calls need to be encrypted? Do you want to listen live? Do you need to save the recordings for an extended period of time? All of these things can be done with ACR. What this decision tree is going to help you determine is, should I use Vertex or active recording, or can I use any method? And it all really comes down to that compliance purposes. We cannot guarantee that with Voicemail Pro, but we can with Vertex or active recording. Okay, that's been a lot of information. Let me show you what I mean. Again, regardless of which method I record, come in here. My recordings are going to be under cradle to grave. Okay, now on the right here are my recordings. Let me move this over here. Ooh, there's my recordings. Let me scale these over. I can move these columns around in any order that I prefer. And as you can see, not every call is recorded. You get to pick and choose which calls get recorded 25%, 5%, 10%, 50%. If you're using Voicemail Pro, that's set up in IP Office. If you're using ACR, both Vertex and Active Recording, where you determine your recordings, which calls manage recording rules. Who do I want to record? Inbound number dialed, external number, agents, groups, basic call events, which could be agents and just their group calls. And because it's a line side tap or it's an active media or SIP connection, you can record their hold events, the queue events, or you can say, I only want to record talking. And again, you can do percentages. So which call, directions, inbound, outbound, internal. You have all those options. But once you have your recording rules established, the end result is the same. They show up here in voicemail, or excuse me, in cradle to grave. And when you hit that, it expands the call. So you see the cradle to grave details and you have this nice wave pad view. So you can see when there's talking or when there's silence. If you're reviewing recordings on a regular basis, that's a great feature, because if there's silence for 10 minutes in the call, well, if you don't have this wave pad view, how do you know that? You're going to sit there and hear nothing for 10 minutes. So you can, oh, yep, here's where there's talking again. Let's play from there. On the right-hand side, you have your menu options, which again can be restricted by each of the users. So you can I download them? Can I email them? Can I generate an external link, which is a phenomenal feature? I want to send this recording to the customer, but I don't want to actually send them the WAV file, or maybe it's just too large. I'm going to just send them a link to the recording. And then you can also delete the recording if you have permissions. If you do this, it's gone. That recording is deleted. There's no fail-safe in here, but it does keep an audit trail for compliance purposes. There, I just clicked on it. Oh, this recording was deleted by administrator at that date and time. If I go down here, oh, well, luckily, here's more portions of the call that they didn't have access to delete. Came in here. You can add notes to the recording, making it easier for you to find those calls later. Here's that snippet tool. You don't have to use a third-party application. Oh, my boss only needs this portion of the call. Let's just send them that. And again, instead of sending them the WAV file, we can send them just a link. This is what it looks like. Very simple. Again, it has that public IP address with the recording link identifier, so it knows which recording to send. And then I can just listen to it. I can't download it. I can't email it. Can't delete it. I just have access to it for the time period that the customer specifies. And then different playback speeds. Do I want to slow the recordings down or speed them up? Also very useful if you have to review recordings on a regular basis. We've been on this training now for about a little over an hour. Well, if you were reviewing this, you could do it now in half the time, 30 minutes. Or maybe I said something a little too fast, or maybe someone gave you a phone number or an email address and you wrote it down wrong. Well, rather than just being like, oh, I guess I can't communicate with them, I don't know how to get in touch with them again. Well, you can come in here, find that recording, and slow it down. And our developers did a great job with this. Oftentimes when you speed up a recording, what happens? Well, they start sounding like a chipmunk. Not with an ACR. When you do that, it still sounds like themselves. It just plays it back at the speed that you selected. Back at your main menu, you have your scorecards. Again, a standard feature within Avaya call reporting. This allows you to come in and evaluate. So if you're going to take the time to listen to recordings on a regular basis, why not score them and fill out an evaluation? You can customize the questions. You can do yes, no questions, 1 through 10 in freeform text. So, for example, oh, did John talk about scorecards? Yes, he did. How did he do? He did okay. Let's give him an 8. Why did we give him an 8? Because this is a recording. Talk about click to listen live. So that's why we gave him an 8. He hasn't talked about click to listen live yet. Submit, and I could go on and score my next agent's call. So all of this is saved to the database. You can view that in cradle to grave. So that's how agents can get and see their data. Or you could schedule reports for them. Let's schedule their scorecard reports where that'll go out to them once a month so they can see how they did. And when I create my scorecard campaign, I could set it to score 10 calls per agent, or a percentage, 10% of their calls, 50% of their calls. And you can use filter criteria to determine which calls you want to rescore. Now, from a design element, pretty easy to design. Okay, oops, a little too fast there. There is a little bit of a typo here, but it will be fixed in May. Right now it says Vertex Recording Library. You're not purchasing the Vertex method. Again, you can use any one of the methods, Voicemail Pro, Vertex, or Active Recording. What that should say is, do you want the recording library, yes or no? When you purchase the recording base license, that comes with 4 ports. Now that's going to be removed, and it's just going to be on a concurrent recording port. So here will be the future question. How many recording ports do you need? It's a concurrent recording port. You might have 50 people you want to record, but only 10 are on the phone at any given time. You just need 10 recording ports. Okay, but again, if you're designing it before that base license is removed or that recording library license and it just says recording ports, it has both. Remember, here's a little note, it comes with 4 recording ports. So if you need to record 12 people, you're going to just say yes and then put in 8 because it comes with 4 ports. From a powered by perspective, that's the basic plus. How many people do you want to record? Well, I have 10 people I want to record. You want 10 basic plus licenses. That gives you recording plus reporting for those users. Okay, let's now move on to real time. This is very similar to what you had with CCC or CCR, but gives you much more, gives you much greater details, gives you much more user-friendly interfaces with no restrictions. Okay, so this can be any office user, ACD users or standard UC users. Anyone can be a real-time agent. They don't have to be a part of hunt groups. This does report in real time on hunt groups as well as ACR skill groups, which you'll see the ACR skill groups here in a bit. You have your agent timeline view, group timeline view, and unlimited wallboards. So that's a big difference right there. No limit to the number of wallboards. You're not limited to 3 or 5 or 10. You can have as many wallboards as you want, and you can set the permissions of who has access to what. You have template wallboards, or you can customize the wallboards. You can also set up alerts and triggers. Those can be sent out via pop screen, SMS text, or email. You can also have it change colors or play audible alarms on the wallboards. One other key thing you need to remember with real-time agents, this does add additional reports. This is going to report on do not disturb time, extension login, and logout time. Okay, that's a key one. There's other solutions out there that don't report on the agent logout time. When they log out of their phone, they're a hot desk user, it just shows them as idle. Well, then how do you know if they're logged in or not? ACR will show when they're logged in and when they're logged out of their phone, as well as logged in and out of their group. Okay, so what other reports do you get? Again, reports for DND time, group login and logout time, extension login and logout time and idle time. And here are some additional canned reports: agent time card, performance summary, real-time feature trace. So if you want to see what time of day did they turn on do not disturb and how long did they turn it on, it's a great report for that. Or how long were they logged into each group? Or from a group perspective, how long was each agent logged in? Okay, let me show you what I mean here. Let's go to our Avaya call reporting and let's show some of those standard reports. So for instance, if I wanted to see what time agents logged in and logged out each day using the phone, I could run this time card report as long as they're a real-time agent. Or if I wanted to see what time of day did they log into their groups, did they go on do not disturb, when were they idle, this is a great report. Or I really like the performance summary. It gives me a lot of great call values as well as those feature durations. So I can select my date and time range. Let's go ahead and select today through Monday, this week. What agents do I want? I can select all agents. They don't have to be real-time agents. Just those values, those features that I select right here are going to be blank for my non-real-time. So let's go ahead and do not disturb time, extension login, group login, and idle. Hit OK and run report. Okay, so here I have my agent performance summary. And I can see at the top here, these agents here, these first few agents, they're not real-time agents because they don't have any DND login time, idle time. Well, you can't be idle or you can't be logged in if you have phone values. These are non-real-time agents. These are my real-time agents, these ones with values down here. And let me zoom in here so it's a little easier for you to see. So here I can see, again, when agents went on do not disturb, how long have they been logged in their extension, how much time have they spent logged into their groups, and their idle, different idle durations. Now, you can do more than just see the historical reports. You can see this information in real time. We can go and select our agent real time, and we can see when agents are logging in and out of their groups. What are they doing? Are they ringing? Are they going on do not disturb? Are they receiving calls? You will see that in real time. There, Brandon Carpenter just logged and went in do not disturb. Brian Feeman just went off of do not disturb and received a call because he's logged into his groups. Courtney's was on the phone just a few minutes ago and missed a call. So you're going to see lots of different values here as the agents go into those different states. Okay. Now you can zoom in and you can zoom out, because let's be honest, no one has time to look at a screen like this all day, every day. So you can scroll back in the past and see what was happening in the past. And there was a little bit more activity between my different agents. So I can scroll through and see when activity is happening, when is it not. I can zoom in so I can make this bigger. I can also switch this from a timeline view to a live column view. So as agents hang up or receive calls or get put on different events, you're going to see those details, and it's going to add the additional columns. There, Courtney's now receiving a call. Oh, and she missed it, or that customer hung up and it went somewhere else. So you can see that, and it puts them in a chronological order. So you can see who's been idle the longest, who's been on hold or talking the longest, or who's been on hold the longest. Okay, now Courtney's getting another call. Let's see if she answers this one. Sure enough, she didn't. I put her at the bottom because, again, she's been talking the least. So you can switch this again from timeline to live column view. You can switch the color scheme. So if you don't like voicemail to be purple, the customer can switch that. Here's all the different colors, what they represent, what value means what. And the customer can change that here, but you have that timeline view. You can also see this from a group view, where you can see which agents are logged in and do you have any calls in queue. I have 4 out of my 5 agents logged into my accounting group. Luckily, no calls in queue, but I did have one in queue just a few minutes ago. Wasn't in there very long. Let's switch around to a different group here. Here I have my main queue. Again, most of my agents are logged in, but they're all on the phone. Luckily, no calls in queue. If a call did come into queue, I would see that call right here. But what most customers really love are the real-time stats, or wall boards. This is where you can see real-time events as well as historical events. And you can customize this to fit your needs. What is it that you want to see? Oh, I want to see my agents in this leaderboard, and how many are logged in and do not disturb and idle, and how many are on queue. And then, maybe over here on this other template wallboard, showing slightly different information. The templates show different information. This shows, rather than just how many calls are in queue right now, how many have I had today? 115, and the longest sat there for 9 minutes 50 seconds. Average was 1 minute and 44. Here's my agent states. And again, you can have it change colors based off of thresholds. If I want to build a new wallboard, it's easy to do. I can select from these templates, or I can build my own. Let's just use a template. All I have to do is configure my groups and select my agents. Hit OK. And I'm done. It's going to populate with that data. Even though the wallboard wasn't created, it's still going to show me that information, but maybe I don't like some of this information. I want to take that out. Okay, let's just clear out this whole space. And I want to show, calls in queue, and I'm going to do a gauge widget. So we'll come over here. We'll select my, group wait time. I want to be notified if ever calls are ringing or queuing. Let's do a count for all calls. We'll do group wait time and set a threshold here. If that gets above 2, I need to know about it. If it gets above 5, let's have it change color to red. If otherwise, we're in the clear. We'll go with green. And we'll add another one right below that here. Oh, call in queue. So maybe I want to add this one very quickly. We'll do duration. We'll do that group wait time as well. We'll do a max duration for any of them. Set my thresholds. We'll set that to 5 seconds. Go to yellow. Red after 10. And I could add additional ones. And then maybe I want to put that audible alarm in there. I can click on that music note and upload an audible alarm if ever it hits that threshold. Hit apply. And sure enough, calls are coming in. Now we're up to 4, but they're getting answered, so it's adjusting the duration as those calls get answered. Maybe I want to see those calls. I'm going to drop my active calls widget in here. Maybe I want to see those. I could do calls with event type queuing, or I could do all calls. Why are calls waiting in queue so long? Oh, it's because I have a lot of people on the phone. And I can scroll through these calls as I need, and I can adjust my wallboard. Once I have it the way I want, I just simply hit save. Okay. Just like the colors and the thresholds, you can set up email, SMS text, and pop screen notifications. those, the custom alerts and triggers, or the real-time alerts and triggers, which won't just do it historical daily lookups, it'll do it in real time. If I hit 50 abandoned calls today, it will do it as soon as it hits 50 abandoned calls. If I have someone logged out for 10 minutes, it will let you know as soon as they're logged out for 10 minutes. Too many calls in queue. Unlimited values here. Counts, durations, miscellaneous. Lots of different options, and you can have as many alerts and triggers as you need. From a design perspective, this is easy to design. It's a named license. So how many real-time agent licenses? Again, you're not licensing your supervisors. You're not licensing your wall boards. You're licensing your agents. So you have 10 agents you need to monitor in real time. You need 10 real-time agent licenses. Sometimes I get questions, well, what if I have 10 agents and 2 supervisors? Do the supervisors need a wall board? I respond back, well, do the supervisors answer calls for that queue? Do the supervisors want to see themselves on the real time? No, they're strictly supervisor. No, then you just need 10. If they go, oh yeah, they're part of the queue, which is common for IP Office, well then, yeah, they would want a real-time agent license. They don't need it to log into the software, but if they want to see themselves in real time and other people need to see them in real time, they need a real-time agent license. Powered by, it's the real-time license. Again, the real-time, this is going to give them the basic and basic plus features, and you can mix and match. So I have 10 real-time and 10 basic and 10 basic plus. This is going to have 30 total users on the system. Okay, but 10 of them would have real time. 20 of them would have recording because, again, you have basic plus here, which is 10 recording plus recording is included in that real time. Now let's move on to the agent desktop. This is an enhancement to the real-time agent license. So this is going to be an application for the agents. They can have their own personalized display. The wall boards are great, but as you saw, it takes up the whole screen. So what about the agents? What are they going to use? What are they going to have on their screen? This is where the desktop agent comes in. You can configure reason codes for do not disturb when they log out of their phone, when they log out of their hunt groups. So you can have reason codes for all of those. Then you can do pop screen, and there is an API for CRM integration such as Salesforce, Zendesk, homegrown CRMs. Again, that is an API, programming interface. They all program different, so we're going to give them the tools to configure that in ACR to push it to their CRM. From there, it's up to them what they want their CRM to do. They can also enter account codes, freeform account codes, sub-account codes. These are account codes outside of the IP Office. Now back to the reason codes. I want to emphasize this because this is a really important feature. When an agent goes on Do Not Disturb, they can enter a reason code. Why are you going on Do Not Disturb? But that works for also group logout as well as extension logout. To my knowledge, ACR and Zima are the only ones that report and allow reason codes for all 3 of those. There's a lot that do Not Disturb, but in IP Office, I've seen environments where they use all 3 of these, and customers want to be able to enter reason codes for all 3. And that will be shown in the real-time displays. That will be shown in the reporting as well. The reason codes, or not the reason codes, the account codes, you can enter primary account codes, sub-account codes, freeform account codes, custom notes. These are all available in the account code section. And then again, there is that screen pop to push the caller information, the account codes, the agent information. What do you want to push to the CRM? Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so if we were to log into our Avaya call reporting, here under agent dashboard, this is where you configure the values, the different account codes, the reason codes. The agents are going to have an application installed on their PC. Got a lot of desktop notifications here. There's my desktop right there. Okay, so I would launch that as an agent, and I can have that auto launch when I log in the morning. But again, this is just going to be pre-configured for what the supervisor sets for me. I have no control of what shows up on that on the agent. The supervisor has that full control because they're going to configure that within the dashboard client. Okay, so what values do I want to show up on the agent's PC? Here's my agents. Well, I'm going to show calls answered, presented, connected, talking, but I have all the same options like I had in wallboards. I want to show them how many calls are in queue. I could add that. How long have they been in queue? What has been their wait time? Or maybe I want those reason codes. Okay, what reason codes? Do not disturb reason codes. Okay, well here are the 4. Do you want other ones? Okay, and now that is starting to pop up. We'll come back to the presence tool, but here is my agent dashboard application. As you can see, that is a small little application. It's not taking up space on my PC. I can put that up in the top right-hand corner, and that's going to rotate between the different values that its supervisor set for me. Maybe I want it a little bit bigger. Well, I can click on the corners and then drag that, make it a little bit bigger, or I can right-click on the Avaya logo, change it from a single view to a floating view, where it lists all of the values. And again, I could resize that if I wanted to, make that a little smaller, or my personal favorite, I'm going to dock this to my screen. That just docked to my screen, so now it's on the left-hand side. And as I open up applications, all of those different presentations that I've been showing, you'll see here, I have that full access to my application. It's not sitting on top of it. Okay, just to show a couple other programs, common ones, maybe my reports. Again, it's not sitting on top of it. It literally adjusts the screen size. And so as I begin to work on things, that's always in front here, and I can see what's happening. As I go on Do Not Disturb, I press that on my phone, I'm going to get my reason code. As I log out of my groups, I'm going to get my reason code, and I can enter those. Oh, I'm doing some paperwork. Well, agents need to remember that when I enter those, it's going to be viewable to all the other agents, to the supervisors. Okay, so there's Courtney Adams. She's on a phone call, but as soon as she hangs up, it switches from talking state. Oh yeah, there's that Do Not Disturb reason code. Paperwork, and that's going to be reportable. The agents can monitor that as well in the Presence tool. Okay, so here they can see that I'm on Do Not Disturb, and the reason for paperwork, they can see that as well when they mouse over the agents. And I can see the other agents who are on the phones. That's the nice thing about this Presence tool. Shows me the status of the other agents, so I can determine when is a good time to go on break or on lunch. Okay, the last feature I'm going to show is that built-in pop screen tool. This is a small little pop screen utility. Lets me know, oh, call's coming in from Kristen on the customer service line. It's going to display the different hunt groups that this call's coming in on. So, oh, this was a customer service call. Well, what happened on this call? Well, I opened up a new ticket, and then I wasn't able to solve it, and so they asked to be transferred to the supervisor. So I can tag that while I'm on the phone or after the call, and all that's going to show up in Cradle to Grave. It's going to be reportable. Okay, another call comes in. Again, this works for both inbound or outbound, so as I make outbound calls, I can have that. Oh, here comes a sales call. Well, what happened on this sales call? Well, I opened up a new ticket. No, I didn't do that. This was a new opportunity. And I scheduled an appointment. And I can enter the customer name. John Doe Co. Okay, so it doesn't have to be one of the predefined options. I can put in a customer name. If I'm an insurance company, maybe I want to put in the insurance claim number. Okay, so you don't have to just select from this list. And you can put as many as you want. And as you type, it will filter down to the options. Okay, where the API is configured is within Avaya call reporting. So let me get rid of the desktop tool here. We'll hide that. Under admin, system settings, dashboards, here is that API. Again, it can push the data to TCP, UDP sockets, the most common HTTP GET. There's going to be a particular path. That needs to be a URL for a search window. It's going to push that to the CRM. What's the parameter? The parameter is different for each company, but it's going to be caller ID. Okay, what do they consider the parameter? P dash, or I've seen sometimes it's $key. Okay, you can push other parameters. It doesn't have to just push caller ID. We can push any one of these. External number, location, notes, tags, account codes. What do we want to send that to and where? You know, HTTP Salesforce.com question mark / usually there's a whole bunch of other digits in here because again, it's a unique URL for each customer. Okay. Again, it's going to push it to the CRM. The CRM then needs to know, okay, I'm getting this data from ACR. What do I do with this? That's where the customer needs to tell them what they want to do. I want it to execute the search for the phone number so it pops to the customer's account. Okay. You can also change the location of the pop screen. If you don't like it on the right, oh, let's switch it to the left. I don't want the presence tool. Okay. Can all users have presence or can some only see presence? You can determine those features. Do you want to turn on those free-form account codes? Yes or no? Okay, so let's dive back into our presentation here. Okay, so from a designing perspective, This is also a named license. How many users need the desktop license? Okay, it can be the same number as real-time. It can be different from real-time. Within Powered By, very easy to design. Real-time agent license. All part of the same license. So the decision tree doesn't really apply too much to Powered By. It applies a lot more to the on-premise. Okay, so here we have, let's start midway through. We haven't gone over that contact center. So one question, are they a desktop user? Do they need screen pop? If they do, maybe they need it to a CRM, review the API, but otherwise propose ACR desktop. Do you want to be able to enter reason codes or account codes? Do you want to see why they went on Do Not Disturb? If they do, desktop. Do the agents want their own personalized PC or display? If they do, ACR desktop. Otherwise, you're looking at the real-time agent. Do the supervisors need to see real-time information on wallboards? Do you want to report on Do Not Disturb or agent time? Do you want to report on agent login or idle time? Queue activity. Do you want to be notified for thresholds? If you say yes to any of those, then you need ACR real-time agents. If they said no, then ACR reporting is all they probably need. From an administration perspective, again, we've talked about the user accounts. So before we get into the contact center, let's talk about the server, or not the server specs, the administration. There's 3 different types of accounts: administrators, managers, and users. Administrators have full access to everything. Managers have full access to all of the modules and all the users, but they don't have access to the system settings. So these system settings down here on the left, where you can come in and change IP office connections, you can change the recording library configurations, you can change the dashboard API, those settings, those are typical IT settings. You probably don't want a manager to have access to those. And then users have the same access as managers, but you can restrict their access down to the very module and user level. Let me show you. User management, user accounts. Okay, I'm going to select a new user, and then I can edit the user access. What do they have access to do? Cradle to grave. Do they have full access? No, they have partial access. And you know what? They only can see these users. That's their team. Reporting. Same thing. Partial, full access. Well, you have custom reports. You want them to create reports? No. Can they schedule reports? No. And they can run all the reports, but only on these groups. And again, just their team. We'll select just their users. Recordings. Because we restricted their cradle to grave access, it's only showing their team already. But can they have access to all their recordings? Can they download? Can they delete? They can download them, but let's not let them delete them. And that recording monitor, which is where you go to click to listen live. Okay, I actually may have forgotten to show you that. So let's go do that. View active recordings. This is where you go to click to listen live. It's kind of like the system status view where it shows the current calls being recorded, but if you have permissions, like I just showed, you can right click on those users and listen live. And it just starts piping that audio in real time to your headset on your PC. It's just that simple. Okay, so let's close some of these tabs here for us. Okay, so let's talk server specs. For reporting, again, all of these, it's a single server, one ACR server. But for reporting, the default server specs is a 4-core quad-core CPU and 4 gigs of RAM. That's going to support up to 500 user system. If you get to 1 to 1,000 users, you're going to still be on a quad-core, but maybe want 2 additional gigs of RAM, 6 gigs of RAM. If you get to 2,000 users, 6 to 8 cores. If you want to err on caution, do 8 cores and 8 gigs of RAM. The reason why it could technically a 2,000 user system run on a 4-core, 4 gigs of RAM, yes. But if they go run a report for a quarter, odds are they do more calls. You're going to run that on more users. Now you're filtering the reports a lot more. If you want that to run a lot faster, you're going to want a little bit bigger of a server. That's what really this is going to do. It optimizes the server specs so they can run the reports in a timely manner. Now for real time, this is based off agents. Okay, now you're not adding these together. So if you have reporting and 10 agents, you're not adding 4 cores together for a total of 8, meaning they can run on the default. So A 500 reporting system user with 25 agents can run on the default system of 4 cores and 4 gigs of RAM. If you get up to 50 agents, you probably want to go from 4 cores, stay at 4 cores, but add 2 gigs of RAM. They're probably going to have more real-time wallboards. It's displaying more information in real time. It's using a little more resources. Same when you get up to 150 agents, 250 agents, 8 cores, 8 gigs of RAM. That's a large real-time environment. It's not adjusting the disk space on the hard drive for call records. It's actually the exact same. But you're going to have more wallboards, and it's going to be displaying a lot more agents in real time, therefore a lot more threads. Now recording, this is based off of concurrent recording ports and how long they want to keep the recordings. Sometimes I get asked the question, what hard drive should I do? Well, I'm going to ask those 2 questions. How many people are we recording simultaneously, and how long do they need to keep the recordings? Well, I'm recording 20 users and I need to keep them for 2 years. Okay, well in that case, you're probably looking at a terabyte, because just to be safe, that's 25. I don't have 20, but you can do the math if you want to, but 25 is pretty close. This is assuming it's recording each call, 25 recording ports simultaneously 8 hours out of the day. That's going to give you 875 days. So that's well over your 2 years. So that would give you what you need. 500's not quite enough. Oh, well, they're actually a 24/7 shop. Okay, well, if they're 24/7 and it's recording 20 people simultaneously, you're going to probably be in the 2 terabyte range. 1.5. Again, you can store these at different locations. But again, it just kind of depends on how many people you're recording and how long you want to keep those recordings. Okay, one important thing, if you do Vertex, the line side tap, not the port mirror, but the line side tap, that needs to be connected to a physical PC. We don't want that in a virtual. It runs into problems. It shuts down the USB connection just randomly. We don't want people to lose their recordings, so go with a physical PC. And it can only support 3 Vertex devices per PC. It's a limitation of the USB. It doesn't like that much connection and activity on the USB. So 3 Vertex devices per PC. If you have 4 Vertexes, you can split those out, do 2 in each PC. Okay, because again, you can have multiple recording library PCs. Let's now talk about Avaya Call Reporting Release 3.12. This came out in March. If you're not familiar with 3.12, it introduced some new modules and some new features, such as skills-based routing, that true contact center. This is that contact center voice agent, which also includes queue callback. And then the multimedia agent, which is web chat. The nice thing is this all integrates seamlessly into cradle to grave and the reports and the wallboards. It's all configured within ACR. However, when you propose the contact center, you're going to add a second server. Okay? So Avaya Call Reporting, that's still your interface where you administer your skill groups. It's still where your reports and your recordings and your real time's all saved. The multimedia server is your call routing engine. Think of it as like a giant soft phone. Okay? It registers to the IP office as a SIP user. This is very similar to IPOCC or ACCS. It's a single SIP user, and calls are going to route from the server edition or IP office to that multimedia server, and that's where calls will queue. And then once agents become available, that multimedia server will transfer those calls to the agents. Okay, so again, receives the calls via SIP from the IP office. It can do short code routing or IP office routing. Again, very similar to IPOCC or ACCS. This is supported in a single site, server edition, multi-site small community network. It is best practice to have agents registered to a single server. Again, that's just recommended. Doesn't have to be, but that's what's recommended. Let's talk about the short code routing. How is this set up and configured? Again, you're going to configure a short code where you need to determine your extension range. Okay, so what extension range do you want? In this example, it's the 500 series. So if I dial any extension range in the 500 series, it's going to route to 392. Okay, that 392 is my IP office user that I created, my SIP user. It will then pass along the digits that I dialed. Okay, so for example, external party calls in on the DID 12345678890. that has a destination in the incoming call route of 510. Well, that's going to match that short code. It's going to then ring extension 392, which is this multimedia server. It's going to answer, but it's going to have an identifier in the SIP header of 510. We're going to receive that, and we're going to route it to the appropriate group with that extension number 510. Okay, so very similar to all the other contact centers on IP Office. Now the nice thing is it's very easy to set up. You have a lot of options within your queuing. Custom queue announcements, queue callback is easy to deploy. You can do digit actions, and again, cradle to grave reporting. We'll go over in depth again how you set up the queue and the different skills-based routing algorithms. But let's just talk real quickly about the different queue features. First, that queue callback. How does that work? We have multiple strategies, reserve agent and wait in queue. In both scenarios, it's going to hold the customer's place in line. Okay, so if they go into queue, they schedule a queue callback in their fifth in line. When they're first in line, depending on the strategy, is who you're going to get on the phone first. Wait in queue, it's going to get the customer on the phone. So when they're first in line, it's going to call them back, they're going to accept, and it's going to connect them to the next available agent. Might be a minute, might be two, might be, right as they pick up. Reserve agent still holds that customer's place in line. Once they're first in line, it doesn't call them yet. It waits for an agent to become available. Agent becomes available, sends them a pop-up, says, hey, you're being reserved for a queue callback, then goes and gets the customer on the line. This strategy is used more when you have long wait times. You don't want to call the customer back and say, hey, this is your queue callback. Would you like to accept? They accept, and they still wait for 40 minutes because you have long wait times. Just hold that agent so when they pick up, it's going to connect them two together. It's going to give the better customer experience. You have different digit actions, menu options that you can press. Hey, press 0 to leave a voicemail. Press 3 to go to a different skill group. You can also manually configure overflows. Set the max queue. I only want 25 calls in queue. If I have more than that, let's send them to a voicemail box. Let's send them to an overflow. You can also determine the queue time of day for the queue callback. Only present queue callback between the hours of 8 and 3. My office hours are 8 to 5. That way I have 2 hours to get to those calls. If a call sneaks in and I don't want to call them back the next day, I can clear the queue out each night and I can determine that queue. Clear. Some real-time agent and desktop enhancements come when you purchase the contact center voice agents. First, the supervisor has agent state controls, queue call controls, and skills management. They can determine what's the customer experience. They can log agents in and out. They can transfer calls in and out of the queue. The agents can log in right from their desktop application, so it's very easy, and they can enable themselves for a single queue or multi-queue. And then they can set themselves on a multimedia do not disturb, which prevents skill calls to come to them, but other agents can still call them. They can receive calls on their DID, so it doesn't prevent all calls, just skill calls. So it's called multimedia do not disturb. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So here I have my agent desktop tool. Now I'm logged in as an agent and I'm enabled for all of my skills. If I disable myself for my skills, I just logged out. And there you saw my voice channel and my multimedia channel, which we haven't gone over yet, both set to a red, and it tells me why. Oh, I'm logged out of my skills. If I only want to log into a couple of skill groups, I can do that. Again, all of them. If I put myself in do not disturb, I get my reason code. Why did I go on do not disturb? And again, it shows that. Now as a supervisor, again, I can monitor this. If I go into my agent timeline, I can see, oh yeah, there's John Florence. He's logging in and out of his skill groups. He's making himself ready. He went in that do not disturb state. And oh, he said he's done for the day? He's not done for the day. He's still here. We're going to take him off of that do not disturb. Now we can have him make calls. But you know what? He doesn't need to be logged into particular groups. I can log him in and out of particular groups from this interface. Okay, let's go ahead and put myself into a busy state. Let's go ahead and let's just make all my groups ready. As calls come in and be presented to the queue, I can see that as a supervisor. So let's go ahead and place a call into that queue here for a second. Okay, so the call is now queuing. You might be able to hear that hold music just slightly through my phone. If I go look at that in my real time and my group timeline, I can now see that call. Sure enough, there it is. And there's the phone number. As a supervisor, I could right click and transfer this to an available agent. Okay, so if I wanted to get that, or I could log John in because he's not in the skill group, so I can make him ready here. Or as an agent, I could get those alerts and triggers, see that their call's in queue, so I can make myself ready so it presents that call to me. Okay, as an agent, there you can see now that call is being presented to me and I can answer that, or I could hang up on my desk phone there, but there you saw that call being presented to me as an agent. Okay, so that's the agent and the supervisor experience. Let me review how easy it is to manage and monitor these skill groups. So from the main menu, here you have your licensed agents. Which agents get licenses? Very easy to assign. Manage skills. I have my different skill groups here. If I want to add agents to skills, I just go ahead and give them a skill level 1 through 10, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. The different routing algorithms will change on a per skill level. Let's go over these. So let's just call this engineering. We're doing sales engineering, so we'll call this the engineering group. Skill priority, we'll give it a 1. That way it has the same priority or higher priority than other skill groups with lower numbers. And then I have my routing algorithms. Most idle, circular, linear, and intelligent, highest skill first. Most idle is not a skills-based routing algorithm. It is the same as IP Office, meaning if I set this to most idle, all my other and all the agents that are part of it, doesn't matter their skill level, whoever's been the most idle, it will route to them. Now you might be asking yourself, well, why do you have that routing algorithm in a skills-based or a contact center environment? It's for those queue callback features. They may want most idle, just like you could do in IP Office, but they want queue callback. Same with circular. Now linear is a skills-based routing algorithm. This is probably the most common skills-based routing. Okay, very easy to understand, very easy to enable and configure. Skill routing identifier. What extension number do we want? 633. If I now go up to a phone, I set an incoming call route to 633 or a transfer action and an auto attendant to 633, it's going to ring the skill group. Okay, what do I want that customer experience to be? Queue announcements. Oh, you know, at 10 seconds, just like IP Office, let's go ahead and tell them their estimated wait time. And I wanted that to repeat every minute and 30 seconds. But then, you know, at 45 seconds, let's tell them their position in queue. Do we want that to always repeat, or do we want to have it just repeat twice or 3 times? Same minute and a half, or do I want to change that? Let's go ahead and keep that. And then, you know, after a few minutes, maybe the 4-minute mark, if they're still waiting, let's give them that option for queue callback. If you like a queue callback, press 1. And these messages will just play indefinitely until it either is answered or one of your actions happens. Queue timeout happens. Okay, well, if they're still waiting after an hour, let's have them time out. I can select from my other skill groups. Let's send them over to the sales skill group. Or you know what? Let's send them to voicemail. Pound 450. Now that is just matching IP Office. It's going to route that call. Again, this is just like an extension on IP Office. So it's going to dial pound 450. If that's a short code to voicemail collect, which is a phantom voicemail box, that's how I can have voicemail for my skill groups. Or, you know what? I'm going to send it to 400, which is the hunt group for the receptionist. Overflow. Do I want to have it overflow if all agents are busy or not logged in? No, I don't want that because I have queue settings. I want it to go through that queuing. Digit actions. Well, we said press 1 for a queue callback, so let's put that. Oh, and we're going to put in a custom announcement for the operator. Press 0. To leave a voicemail, press star. So let's put in those codes or those numbers. And I forgot to record that custom announcement. Let's go in and do that. Let's give them the option at 30 minutes. Let's put in 30 minutes here. Voicemail. I can have the system call me on my desk phone, upload a file, or use my microphone, just like Voicemail Pro. We won't worry about doing that here, but that's how you do that. And you can then select those for all of your other queues as well. If you want to change those default announcements from English to a different language, English and Spanish are available today. You can add additional languages. Add, give it a name, and then these are the messages you would need to re-record in your native language. It takes about 30 minutes to an hour, but if you do that, you can save the language pack. and then export it for future deployments. So you only have to do that one time. Hit close. Max calls in queue. That's that max threshold. Do we want indefinite number of calls, or you know what? No. After 25, we're going to send it to a different destination, which again is going to be the sales demo. Here's that queue callback strategy. Wait in queue or reserve agent. Well, I have short wait times, so I'm going to do reserve agent. If you have long wait times, again, reserve agent. You can also deploy a snooze. So maybe you called them back at an inconvenient time. They weren't ready for it. They weren't expecting it. Okay, well, we can allow them to snooze it. We'll allow them to snooze it twice. That's a static snooze. You can't change that number, but you can adjust the snooze time. In essence, if they snooze it, okay, for the next 30 minutes, we're going to let everyone go in front of me. Once it hits 30 minutes, it's going to put me in front of the line. If it's set to wait in queue, it's going to call me back around that 30-minute mark. If it's set to reserve agent, it's going to be around that 30-minute mark. It'll wait for an agent to become available after 30 minutes. Okay, but otherwise, it's going to let everyone else pass for that time period. And again, allow them to do it twice. You then need to enter the outbound code. What does the system use to dial out? A 9, an 8? You need to enter that. But from there, you're done. You just added engineering. And now I can add my agents to that group. Give them the skill level. It doesn't have to be everybody. Now in this model, linear, it's going to go to Brian first. He's the only one with a 10. But if Brian's busy or logged out, well, then I have Matt, Sam, and John all at a 5. Well, they're all the same. Then it will default to most. Who's been the most idle out of these agents? Okay, same. If I switched me to a 10, okay, now Brian and John are at 10. Who's been most idle? Oh, Brian has. Okay, it's going to go to Brian first. Then next time it would go to me. If both Brian and I are busy, then it's going to go to Matt and Sam. Who's been the most idle? That's linear skills-based routing. Intelligent highest skill first puts weight on the other skill groups. So here, Brian and I are both at 10. So if this is set to intelligent highest skill first, it's not going to go to who's most idle. What the system's going to do is it's going to take into account our other skill groups, and it's going to say, oh, well, they're actually both part of all the other skill groups, but John is a little bit better on all of the other skill groups, so I'm going to keep him available, because if another call comes into engineering, great, John will take that. He's just as good as Brian. But if a call comes into these other groups, well, I want that to go to John first because he's a higher skill level than Brian is on all those other skill groups. So it takes into account the other skill groups. That's how you set up those skills-based routing groups. It's that simple, and you can have as many skill groups as you want. They're all reported on. They show up just like hunt groups under real-time and reports. There's additional reports for those skills-based routing, that contact center. If we go to run reports, again, these skills are going to show up under all your group reports, but they also show up under multimedia. These are specific to queue callback. If you want to know that queue callback usage, who's using it, who's not. But you can also view that information in cradle to grave. If I want to look at my calls in cradle to grave, hit execute. I can see my scheduled queue callbacks. Here, customer scheduled a queue callback, and the system will read back their phone number. If it's right, they can accept that phone number or enter a new one. This particular customer, that's the phone number they wanted to call back. Called them back, and I know that, again, based off the phone number. They didn't answer it. They snoozed it. Oh, here's the second attempt. They snoozed this one. Again, the third one, they have to either accept or cancel the callback, meaning, okay, they're going to have to call back in. It's going to stop trying after this. We don't want those indefinite snoozers, so it'll try 3 times. They didn't answer, and then it disconnected. Here's one where it did get him on the phone. Called him back. The customer accepted the queue callback, and it presented a call 6 seconds later. Trevor answered it, and they talked for 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Exactly what you want queue callback to do. Much better customer experience. Okay? Let's now go over the multi-channel agent, which is the web chat. And the reason why I'm going to do this real quickly is it's configured in the same place the skill groups. All the different chat options are within the skill groups. Oop. You can customize the chat options. It's very easy to deploy because once you have it configured, there's a code snippet. This is what the customer needs to put into their website. It has a unique installation ID, and they can then enter that code snippet and then still customize their options within ACR. But that's the installation ID or that code snippet that they need to deploy, and I'll show you how that works. But otherwise, same idea, cradle to grave reporting. You see cradle to grave. You could see the chats in skill groups in real-time wallboards. How many calls do I have waiting for a chat, or chats do I have waiting right now? How long have agents been on chats? I want to run reports on that. You have all that feature functionality. Okay, but as I mentioned, the interface and the design is all done through your ACR interface. You can customize the invite header. What do you want to do when no agents are logged in? Do you want canned messages per skill group? What do you want the chat widget customization, auto responses to do? Okay, so let me show you how this works. Okay, so here, again, you log into your ACR instance. You don't have to log into that multimedia software. Once you've deployed that server, you're going to then configure from the ACR interface. You're going to go to Admin, System Settings. This is the system settings. You're designing what you want your chat to do. You don't want managers or users to adjust this. Again, who are your chat licensed agents? Here's that unique installation ID. That's different for every customer. Here's your chat configuration. What do you want your header color to be? What do you want the agent chat color to be? The customer chat color. Oh, maybe I want to change this to actually black. Okay. Your URL to skill mapping. This is how you get it from different places on your website to the different agents. Oh, if they're on our support site, I need to ensure that goes to my support agents. That's the URL to skill mapping. You can add a mapping, give it a name. We'll just call this training. Maybe I'm on training.avaya.com. So I'm going to type the word training in here. At any point in the URL, if it sees the word training, okay, what group do we want that to go to? Training. Oh, I want one more, branding. Maybe I have a branding.avaya.com or avayabranding.com. Oh, it sees the word branding. So we'll put that in there. I want that to go to that skill group. So, and then of course you want a default. So if it doesn't match anything else, all other places on the website, I want it to go to the sales skill or disable. Don't present any chat option. Okay, but once you have your URLs, you can adjust those at any time. You can upload a logo, you can show the agent image, and then you can do a preview. What would this look like if I were to deploy this on Avaya's website right now? It's going to take a snapshot of that website, and then it will show the page. There it is. Okay, oh yeah, that black looks pretty nice. I like that better than the pink. So I can now deploy that, and that red seems to match my red. That's exactly what I want. And so now I can save that and it's going to be live. Okay, so let me show you what a live environment looks like here. Close. We'll save this, hit OK, and then we could hit save. Now I've deployed this to a simple blog spot. So here I have a simple blog site. Okay, so we'll shrink that down here so we can see that all on the same page. But as you can see down here in the bottom, it says click here to chat with an agent. It sees an agent is available. Would you like to chat? Yes, I would. So we're going to just call this Bill Bob. Training@avaya.com. Confirm I'm not a robot. And then hit submit. Okay, and there it presented because again, as an agent, I'm logged into my skill group here. I'm enabled for that skill group. So it says, hey, Bill Bob, training@avaya.com. It wants to chat. Do you want to accept this? Yes, I do. And so it's going to pop up our chats and it's going to have my auto response. Back on our website or the customer experience, we can see, oh, hi, Bill Bob. My name is John Florence. How can I help you? So that was one of the canned responses for this skill group. So as a customer, oh, I need help with contact center designs. Can you help? And over on the right there, you can see that it shows that it's typing, and now they're not, and it sends that, and it sends that pretty much in real time. And there it has that updated black that I adjusted. Oh, and I could say something like, oh, sure thing. And again, on his screen, it's going to show agent is typing, but I can change that. I can also respond, add account codes like this is a phone call, transfer this to another skill group or an agent. I want to request a screenshot. I'm a little confused on what you're saying here, Bob. Can you help me out? Okay, yeah. Well, they just requested a screenshot, and I'm going to send a screenshot. Okay, and now I have that URL where I can go look at that screenshot and view that if I need to. Once I'm done, inbound call coming in, I can close that and that chat, and then in the customer site, they can save that chat session. They can save that chat log. You don't need to worry about that within the ACR software because it's going to save that in cradle to grave in the reports. Just like phone calls. How long did they wait in the queue? How long did they accept and put in their details? 18 seconds. The agent, it was then presented to them for 13 seconds, and then they chatted for 3 minutes and 3 seconds. You're going to see when they request those screenshots. Why did they request a screenshot? Well, on the right, you have this chat log. You can see the chats. Okay, down below, chats, external, you can see when they transferred. Now again, this is a lot of detailed information. I talked about that GDPR earlier. Well, we can identify them as a person with that email address. If the customer ever wants this deleted or ever wants their phone calls deleted, for GDPR compliance, under admin, you have privacy tools. You can enter that customer's email, enter their phone number, export personal data. So you can send them all the records and the chats that you have for them. If they say delete it, you just hit delete, hit OK, and it will delete all the chats. It will delete the recordings, and it will star out their phone numbers. So you still get those accurate reporting details, but you no longer can identify who they are, who that caller was. Okay? The individual skill group options, again, are done under the skills. What do you want those auto responses to be? What do you want that canned response to be? You can do variable tags. Maybe their agents are constantly typing out the same information. You can customize that on a per skill group level. Okay? Do you want that invite header text to say, click here to chat with an agent, or do you want it to say something else? How can I help you? You can customize that. What do you want it to do when all agents are busy? Offer a queue, like a phone call queue. And of course, you can report on that. You can see it in real time when chats are waiting in queue. You can get real-time alerts. Or you know what? We're not set up for that. Let's go ahead and hide the chat box altogether. Same when no agents are logged in. Don't offer email. Hide the chat box altogether. Customize the text for the what's responded with. You want to change it from English to a different language? You could do that. Or maybe you don't call your agents agents. Maybe you call them CR, customer representatives. You can change what that displays when they're typing or all the default settings there. Okay. Now, if we were to go back to our presentation here, we'll review that decision tree up at the top. Okay, because the contact center voice agent, that bundle license, going to come with everything else. So let's determine first if they're a contact center bundle license or an agent. Do you need skills-based routing? If they say yes to that, you're in that contact center voice realm. If they say no, there still might be a need for contact center. They might want that queue callback feature. Again, you could do that most idle routing just like IP Office Hunt groups, but it's going to use skill groups, and it offers that queue callback. Or maybe they want supervisor control. What do I mean by that? Supervisors want the ability from ACR to log them in and out, to put them into a do not disturb state. Okay, again, it's the multimedia do not disturb state, but they can do that with contact center. If they say no to that, again, you're still now back down to the desktop or real time. But if they say yes to that, you're going to want to propose the contact center voice agent. If they want web chat, you're going to want to propose contact center voice and multimedia. Now in A1S, this is easy to design. Okay, but it's a little complicated. Up here at the top, you have some design guidelines. In May, this will be updated. But you'll notice here, first, skills-based routing agent bundle will now be called contact center voice agent bundle. So if you're looking at this before May, it says skills-based agent bundle. That is now contact center bundle. After May, it'll just say contact center bundle. And again, the bundle includes a real-time and an agent desktop license and a skills-based agent. You can add these individually if you want, but you're going to pay more than the bundle. I want to pay attention to the fourth option here. Designs for queue callback should be redirected to the contact center voice agent bundle, skills-based agent, as this feature is now included in the voice agent bundle. So you no longer need to quote queue callback or additional queue callback ports. It's included in the agent bundle, and it gives you unlimited queue callback. So you might have a 5-agent environment, but you could have 20 scheduled queue callbacks. That is tremendous value for ACR. Okay, now in the powered by model, very easy to design. Under the powered by Avaya call reporting, you now have this fourth option, total real-time contact center users. That is everything you've seen through this training. Everything. It includes basic plus, real-time features, and then the contact center features for those agents. And again, you can mix and match, but again, want to make it clear, if you have 15 contact center agents, you don't need to do 15 contact center agents and 15 basic to give them the reporting, because they get that within here. What that would be is if you had 15 contact center agents and then 15 standard UC users where you wanted reporting, that's where you do that design. For that secondary server, this is what we recommend. This actually has nothing to do with agents. It has everything to do with high queue call volumes and long wait times. But on average, this is what we see. In a 1 to 10 agent environment, that multimedia server could be a quad core, 4 gigs of RAM. 11 to 25 agents, 4 core, 6 gigs of RAM. 25 to 50 agents, 8 cores. Let's just do 8 gigs of RAM. Same with, so really 25 and above, I would go 8 cores, 8 gigs of RAM, because it's hard for you to know. It's hard for Avaya and Zima to know, because it's actually based off of the call volume, not the agent account. Because again, the agents are actually registered to the Avaya call reporting server, which we already talked about that design. This actually has everything to do with queue volumes. So I've seen some environments where they have 20 agents, but they have 300 calls in queue. They're not staffed appropriately. But if you went with 4 cores and 6 gigs of RAM, that server's going to be suffering. It's going to need more 8 cores, 8 gigs of RAM, because it's playing those queue messages. It's doing queue callback for 300 plus calls. Okay, so if your customer knows that, there's a server guide that talks about how many calls they have in queue, but a lot of times customers don't know that. So this is kind of the base or the foundation that you can use based off of agent count. But keep that in mind. It actually is high call volumes, long wait times. If you want to err on the side of caution, just go 8 cores, 8 gigs of RAM, and you should be safe. Now, what are some differences between ACR and ACCS from a contact center perspective? We're not focusing on the differences. Oh, one's call accounting, one's true contact center. There's different recording. No, let's just focus on the contact center piece. First, the agents that it's targeting. ACR is really targeting 5 to 100 agents. Could you go less than that? Sure, you could do 2 agents, 3 agents, 4 agents, 1. But it goes up to 100 agents. ACCS, if you go above 100 agents, you're going to want to go with ACCS. Again, this is that contact center, not real time. You could have more than 100 real time. This is contact center, that skills-based routing or web chat. And that's a reason why ACCS. The ACR 5 to 100 is because it also only has 2 channels, inbound and outbound. So it's a voice agent and web chat. That's all it has, where ACCS has inbound, outbound voice, email, web chat, SMS, fax. I believe it also has a dialer. It also can integrate with Avaya WFO Select. ACR doesn't do that. Oftentimes you see and need those features when you get into a higher agent count. Both solutions are available for both on-prem and powered by. If you have any more information or would like more details about Avaya call reporting, please reach out to your local Avaya NAM, TAM, sales engineer. You can also contact Zima Sales if you need additional pre-sale support beyond Avaya. I want to thank you for watching today, and we look forward to working with you.